Hello everyone and welcome to Photo Finds number 101. I'm your host, Gavin Hatch. This week we're over at SeaWorld Orlando once again because we're taking a look at the new Dolphin Days show over in the Dolphin Theater, as well as some other entertainment around the park and catching the One Ocean show. So let's get started. Now, on the 31st, Blue Horizons had its final performance. Now, that show ran for 11 years here at the Dolphin Theater, and the very next day, they started doing the new show, which is called Dolphin Days. Now, you can see the logo here is on the set itself. This is a huge tarp that they added in overnight. They literally ended Blue Horizons on the 31st, and on the 1st, the very next day, they went ahead and started doing Dolphin Days. Now, this show has been over in California already for, I think, about a year, or maybe even over a year. So this show is very similar to the one over in San Diego at SeaWorld, and it's more educational. That's really the focus. Now, Blue Horizons, if you had seen that before, it was definitely, there were dolphins and actually some species of whale in it before, but they were focusing more on like acrobatics and different things and aerialists and performers and people. So I think maybe a general complaint that they got from guests was that it wasn't really educational, there wasn't a strong focus on the dolphins itself, and it was more a balance of people and dolphins. Well, this show is more educational, even though there's still some great music in it, and there's still, of course, people, trainers in the water with the dolphins, but it's definitely more educational. Now, you'll notice that there are still a lot of similarities to Blue Horizons. A lot of the same behaviors that you saw in the Blue Horizons show are also in Dolphin Days. So we'll look at some images here of different behaviors that the dolphins do throughout the show that you would see in the Blue Horizons show. You have the dolphin that goes over the gentleman in the center of the tank. You have the dolphin doing the kind of laying on their back with the trainer, and there's just other things. There's also the birds. The birds are still also in the show. I was worried that they were going to take the birds out of Dolphin Days, just because obviously the title is Dolphin Days, not anything related to birds, but I'm glad that they're still using, it's a third-party company that actually works with SeaWorld and partners with them to take care of the birds. So they're not directly through SeaWorld, the company that has the bird handling going on in the show, but they still do have the birds in this show. And I like that they actually do talk about the birds. So it's not just educational about the dolphins, but you're also learning about the different birds and parrots, and there's all kinds of different species of birds in this show in the theater, so you get to learn about them as well. When I heard that Dolphin Days was going to be more educational, I thought, well, maybe they're going to take the trainers out of the water and not be doing any performing with the dolphins themselves, like they really did a lot of inside the Blue Horizons show. And I was worried about that because I really love the interaction, seeing actually people in the water with the dolphins. So they did not take that out. The trainers are still doing all kinds of cool behaviors with the dolphins in the water, and one of my favorites is just having the trainers standing, putting their feet on the top of the dolphin's nose and just having the dolphin like push them through the water. It's the most amazing thing to see in person if you haven't done it before, and it just looks like a person is flying out of the water. It's so cool, and it's just a behavior I've always loved, and I'm so glad they kept that. So some of the things that are different with Dolphin Days compared to Blue Horizons that you'll notice is that, first of all, the costumes, the wetsuits that the trainers are wearing are no longer the differently colored blues and lime greens. They are now all pretty much wearing the same thing, and it is completely different. So it's a different scheme and different design of wetsuit that the trainers are wearing. Also, I noticed that they did bring back some of the behaviors and parts of this show that they used to have before Blue Horizons, where they would have a guest, a young guest usually, stand up and have the dolphin do a behavior with the trainer there, and then the person turns around and has their back towards the tank and is acting like they're smiling for a picture. They think they're smiling for a picture, which they are, but then they have the trainer go ahead and do a sign to ask the dolphin do a behavior where they, of course, they splash the person standing there closest to the glass, which is usually that guest. So it makes for a funny moment. It's something that they've done over at the Sea Lion and Otter Stadium Theater before with their shows, and they used to do it with the dolphin show that was there before Blue Horizons, before it was more theatrical. And I'm glad to see them bringing that behavior and that moment back into this, because it's always kind of funny to see the reactions of someone getting splashed by this cold salt water. Now, leaving the Dolphin Theater, over in the waterfront area where they usually do the pearl diving, I noticed that they did have some entertainment there in the streets, and they had this, I don't know the official, like the technical term for this type of performance, but someone that acts like they're a statue, and obviously they are not a statue and they do little movements, but this was something I've never seen before in person, and I thought was the neatest thing. So this woman is supposedly a statue, and she was doing some movement though and kind of doing a dance to a certain song. There was no lyrics to it, but it was just music, and she was moving around to it very majestically like, and it was interesting because you think, you know, oh, she's just moving around, but you notice there was lots of water on the ground around her, and then all of a sudden she starts having water coming out of her fingertips and out of the top of her head. And that's something I'd never seen in person. I thought that was the neatest and the coolest thing, and definitely grabbed a lot of attention of different guests walking by. So she had quite an audience, and it was really neat. So the person who's doing this though, I'm pretty sure they are not with SeaWorld though. It's a third-party company. I think they probably hired them to come in during the peak season because we're obviously in spring break right now. So this is something you probably won't see here year-round if you're coming to SeaWorld during a non-peak season, but it is really cool if you get to check it out. And walking away, I noticed that I'm a technical person. I like to know how things are made, how things are done, and if you don't like doing that, then I guess plug your ears. But I noticed that the way that she's able to have the water turn on and off, because it would go on and off throughout her performance, there is a person, a young lady standing and just wearing total black, kind of behind underneath the tree by a trash can, and she was leaning up against that and just watching her, and I noticed that she had a little clicker in her hand, so the water was turning on and off by someone else. So they both probably have to work together and learn the choreography to the movements that she's doing, and it was really neat. Now over at One Ocean, you could really see how busy the park was that day. I was there this past Sunday. Spring break, we're in spring break right now, but really most of the guests, the busiest part of spring break is going to be middle of April, and that's when you're going to really see it just be very, very full in these parks. So SeaWorld definitely, even though they have lost attendance over the years, it's still, you can still see there are some crowds here, definitely during the holiday season like spring break. So I was there for One Ocean. It's one of those shows that I always like to try to see because obviously One Ocean is going away by the end of this year or next year, because in 2019 all the SeaWorld parks will have the new orca experience, and we have the last generation of orcas right now at SeaWorld. They are no longer doing the breeding program, so the ones that we have right now in captivity at SeaWorld are the last ones, and they're going to be around for a while though, because they still have a long lifespan, especially when they're in captivity. So these orcas will be thriving here for quite some time, but they are going to end the theatrical One Ocean show because SeaWorld is just going in that route right now, in that direction, with changing their whole image and their brand, just like they did over at Blue Horizons. It's now Dolphin Days, it's more educational. They're going to do the same thing on a much larger scale over here with One Ocean and creating a new orca experience that is yet to be named. But One Ocean has already closed over in San Diego. I'm not sure if it's still open or not over in in San Antonio, but they will be closing it here in Orlando. I think we're the last one to have it close and transition into the new orca experience. Now SeaWorld's gone ahead and decided to change things in the parks and the route that they're taking and the perception of what they do in their parks, because of course a lot of different backlash with things such as one particular film that really miseducated a lot of people, and it's unfortunate that SeaWorld is making these types of changes because of that and not for better reasons. But it's something that's really it's unfortunate because I'm a huge supporter of SeaWorld. I know all the good that they do and they make a difference, and it's something where I wish people took the time and energy and even money that they spend on going against it instead supporting it. That way they can do even better things for our environment and the world that we share with these amazing creatures. Well, that will do it for this week's edition of Photo Finds. I hope all of you have a great week. Thank you so much for watching. Give this video a thumbs up, comment below, share the video, and of course subscribe to Attractions Magazine. But most importantly, make sure that you get out, you have fun, and you enjoy those parks.